will invite our next representative coming from the Design Industry Association, the most well-known AIA Architect Institute Association, Jennifer Kressmer. Welcome, Jennifer. Can you open your microphone?
There you go.
Yes.
Hello. Thank you,
yes,
Catherine.
I can hear you now. Okay, welcome. Yeah, before give the microphone and stage to Jennifer, I will give us a brief introduction of Jennifer. Jennifer Kressmer, AIA NCARB LEED Grant Associate, founded J. Kressmer Architect in 2003, specializing in single-family homes and ADUs. J. Kressmer Architect's main goal is to provide beautiful, energy-efficient homes within homeowners' budget. She's a member of the AIA, American Institute of Architects, and has been a leader in the profession, which has included being a speaker at the AIA 19 conference on architecture and 2019 Crane Symposium. Jennifer currently serves as the 2021 AIA Silicon Valley president. She's also on the board of directors for AIA California and as a member of the AIA California ADU Resources Technical Network since 2019. His network helps to disseminate and encourage changes in ADU laws, to provide a network of architects to educate and train on ADU design codes and regulations, to engage with municipalities on implementing state ADU laws within their jurisdictions, and to advocate for the California homeowners. So let's warm welcome Jennifer Kressmer.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Catherine. I am going to go and share my screen because I do have a presentation.
Okay. Yes.
Here we go. And thankfully, you read all of this introduction about me. Yes, my name is Jennifer Kressmer. I am an AIA architect licensed in California. And just a little bit more about me and my company, J. Kressmer Architect. We founded the firm in 2003 and started designing ADUs around 2005, back when they were still known as second dwelling units. In 2008, our firm transitioned to all remote team. So everybody works from home starting in 2008. So we've had some experience doing that. In 2015, I decided to convert my own garage into an accessory dwelling unit. Now, this was before Senator Wachowski's efforts in ADUs, so it's technically called in my municipality a habitable accessory dwelling, but it does serve as essentially the rules of a JADU. And I decided to do that in a way of having flexibility, not just for having a space for my own office, but also if in the future I needed space for aging relatives or for any family members coming to visit. In 2020, our firm became the first architecture firm in San Jose's pre-approved ADU vendor program. So we have plans that are already ready to go. And our strategy is to primarily design ADUs that complement the primary residences and fit in within existing neighborhoods. Our firm has been a huge advocate on ADUs and agree with the housing that with the need of additional housing, ADUs is a very significant way to get additional housing without creating high density or high profile. It's a very peaceful way, in a way, to add more housing, as well as being able to provide mixed communities. So in March 2016, we all started this new shelter in place, and our new reality began. For our firm, we saw our projects under construction were halted. But our design activities did not continue. Our design activities continued. We did see construction resume in July, but at that time we had a backlog of many both residential and regular ADU projects. What we noticed from our homeowners that the reality of occupying your home 24 hours a day, that people began to realize how inadequate their homes were for this 24-hour lifestyle. People were seeing the needs for places to work that were quiet, places to homeschool or teach their kids. They needed spaces to entertain, additional storage because they were going to the grocery store or shopping less often and maybe buying things a little more in bulk. So they wanted additional storage for things like cleaning supplies and also for food. The other reality that we started to see was that family members started to become very concerned about elderly relatives in nursing and long-term care facilities. We saw universities closing and students coming home, and relatives who have been living alone have been isolated. So a lot of people who come to me say, okay, we need more space within our existing home in order to provide for additional relatives. So the ADU became a great solution for this. We've had a lot of requests for ADUs. The reality of this 24-hour home occupation and the housing situation of our loved ones led to the desire to add more space. And the ADU has definitely become the most significant ask from people coming to me requesting design services. ADUs are also more flexible to use than a regular home addition, as it can be used as additional space for the current residents, but it can also be used as a separate unit for family members or for additional income as a rental property. So what's changed in design since COVID has entered our life and since we've been in a pandemic? Well, in residential construction, the architecture, engineering, and construction industry has started to design homes with improved fresh outdoor airflow in both passive systems and in mechanical systems. We are seeing the increase in use of residential whole house UV air purifiers, and as well as a ask and a request for HEPA filters or MERV 16 filters. There's a greater desire for self-sufficiency, leading to things like being more self-sufficient in the energy grid, so solar panels with battery backup. A lot of people have noticed that their homes might not have the best natural light, and just for health reasons, looking at increasing natural light, and then for ventilation, operable skylights. We have a lot of requests for easier to clean finishes in kitchens and bathrooms. Less are we seeing tile with large grout, because grout can just drive people crazy in trying to clean it and keep it clean. And so more smooth surfaces in the kitchens and bathrooms are a request. Exercise facilities or some place to exercise. I recently had a client who said, we love to do yoga and we actually like to do hot yoga. So we created an additional space within a bathroom and put up heat panels so that they can do yoga within their bathroom space. And it was still private and away from their children. We also get requests for home offices, for study spaces, and like I mentioned before, increased storage. Aging in place is becoming more predominant in the housing market in all residential types of buildings. And in ADUs, we very often get asked to design, especially the bathrooms, to be large enough for someone to utilize a walker at minimum, maybe a wheelchair, and installing grab bars around toilets and showers. We're taking out more bathtubs and only having shower only for that same reason, so that no one has to lift their leg and climb over a tub in order to get into a shower facility. So this has been leading to larger bathrooms. How has it affected our permit processing? Well, at the beginning of the shelter in place, not every municipality had some way of working with clients remotely or online. But by now, most municipalities have an online submission process in place. And there are good checklists on how to go through the digital process. And digital plans are being accepted. So no more lugging around paper plans and delivering them. We're delivering plans directly online. The process for gaining approvals and what's required in a set of building plans does vary from one municipality to another, but most cities do have a checklist. So be sure to look for that checklist and know exactly what needs to be done on the plans. Now, your design professional will know what needs to be in a set of plans for any set municipality so that your permitting process will be a bit smoother. The process is a bit slower these days, depending on who's assigned to review your plans. Plan checkers are people just like you and I, and some of them are struggling in this shelter-in-place reality, and some of them are actually thriving. So it just depends on who's working and whether they're doing well working from home. And that also means that the supervisors are also reviewing or managing their employees in the plan checking through online practices as well. So, you know, they're not looking at over everybody's shoulder. Your plans will be reviewed by multiple departments. And even before COVID, sometimes different departments, even within the same municipality, would have a hard time communicating with each other. I had noted that in a few places, there were different computer systems from one department to another. Now that everybody's at home, there's all this different communication that's going on. And so do know what departments are reviewing your plans. And if you are having a backlog and it's taking too long to hear back from the city, be sure to know which department is holding up your plans and have a way of communicating. Again, your design professional can lead the way on that. But if you're doing a little bit of this on your own, this is a really important thing, is to know who is holding up the review. What to expect during construction. The county is requiring that every construction company on every single site, no matter how large or small the project may be, that there is a social distancing protocol with the county, as well as a person who is the health safety officer on that job site. So know that that you will be basically paying for a health safety officer on your job site as long as these pandemic processes remain. Social distancing protocols will likely be in effect until 80% of our population is vaccinated or until we see a significant decrease in cases. This could mean that these processes and the social distancing protocol could be with us for another year. So be prepared for that. Construction has been taking longer because part of the social distancing protocol is that teams of coworkers cannot necessarily be on site at the same time. And this has made it difficult for someone like a design professional like me to come out and do our site visits, because typically we meet homeowner, general contractor, and the architect. But right now the social distancing protocols want only two different groups from from one on the job site at one time, and that's three. So we're making it work on how to make that work, that all of us can somehow see things, but it may not mean that we'll be able to meet all on site at the same time. And the other thing that I'm actually happy to see is that improved sanitation facilities on construction sites. Construction workers were often given just something like one porta potty to work from and no way to wash their hands. And now you're going to start seeing hand washing facilities more often with the porta potties and better ways for workers to keep themselves safe and to keep you as the homeowner safe as well. Other changes that you can expect is that within the design professional community, we are seeing in the residential sphere, there are still quite a few design professionals who have been drawing by hand, but now pretty much everybody is on computer and utilizing 3D modeling. They're communicating using great technology platforms like Slack and Basecamp. And this has been a way of also creating better transparency with clients in communicating back and forth between clients and design teams. Google Docs, Smart Sheets, and other other ways of transparent communication with clients. I love to use Google Docs with my clients to help them select their finishes, and then that we can all edit the documents together. And of course, video conferencing with clients, consultants, and general building contractors have been vital to keeping projects going. Since I mentioned that I've been running an office remotely since 2008, I have trained other architects on how to run their offices remotely, and especially during this pandemic. But now my main focus is onboarding clients in this virtual world. So getting started on your ADUs, I have a few really things that I always look for when someone comes to me and gives me their home address. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that an ADU, although it has this name ADU by the California Residential Code, it is still considered a new dwelling or a new house. And so the same building codes are in effect for an ADU as it would be if you were building a brand new home. So these are the things to look for. Most municipalities have a checklist that you can download off their website, so get that checklist. Check the local fire regulations. Some of them are not matching state rules, and we're often going back to the state to see what can we do to come in better alignment, because a lot of fire departments are still requiring fire sprinklers in certain situations for ADUs. Check if your property is in something called a geohazard zone. That means a fault line, or a landslide zone. That would mean additional soils testing or possibly geotechnical testing for your site, whether it's in a historic zone, whether it's in a FEMA flood zone. Some of these can put things on your project that could potentially derail them. I did have a client who found out that they were in a landslide zone, and the cost of doing the trenching and geotech report was so high that they decided to abandon the idea of an ADU. If your primary residence is on a septic system, you will have to go through the county environmental health as well as going through your municipal processes. If you're on city sewer, older homes, some of them only have a 3-inch sewer lateral line. You want to look, minimum sewer lateral line is 4 inches today. Last project I had that we had to change the sewer line, it was an $8,500 extra expense that no one had been expecting to do. And of course, property is within half a mile of a public transportation, then you would not have to add additional parking requirements. So look for your local bus stop. In the end, a design professional or architect may be able to help you get all these answers in place before you start designing your ADU, or make final decisions that you're going to do an ADU, and get the answers to these questions and help you go in that direction. And just lastly, in getting started on your ADU, hiring a design professional should be your first step in getting your ADU. And an architect is a design professional who is licensed in California to practice architecture. If the person doesn't have a license, they're not an architect. Doesn't mean they can't work on your project. It's just to distinguish between architect or design professional only. And the American Institute of Architects is the central professional organization for architects in the United States. Our local chapter, the AIA Silicon Valley, has a directory on our website where you can have a drop-down menu and choose architects who specialize in residential projects if you're looking for an architect for your ADU project. Thank you very much. And Catherine, is there anyone who has any questions for me?
Yes, because I have collected some questions from the community and some raised online that I will, maybe you can answer for a little bit. So,
sure.
Yeah, for example, Someone asked, what advice do you have in obtaining municipal approvals for an ADU?
So a big thing is what I mentioned previously is download or get a hold of whatever checklist the city has and go through that checklist. If you see things in improving the process and making the process more streamlined, there's also a separate checklist for what needs to be submitted in your plans. Make sure that everything on that checklist is provided to the building department when you submit your plans. That will make the plan review process go much quicker because there are less things that they're going to ask you to provide.
Okay. One more is what are the key markers to a successful ADU project? Which maybe asked in another way, what kind of considerations do the homeowner have to take into consideration before they start?
I'm sorry, there's someone else talking and I can't hear you, Catherine.
Oh, okay. So Andy, would you please mute yourself for a little bit? Yeah, thank you. So yeah, another question is, what are the key markers to a successful ADU project? Which maybe I can ask in another way is, what type of considerations do the homeowners take into consideration before they start their ADU project?
So first is look at what is your existing infrastructure in your house. And I'm looking at things like your sewer, your electrical, and your water. Make sure that those are meeting current capacities so that, because those are big expenses if you have to change them. The second is understand your budget. What is your budget on your project? And does it align with current construction prices? Many people come to me with an idea of what they think an ADU is going to cost in their community. And we work on some plans, and it turns out that the costs, even when we bid them out to multiple contractors, is just too high. So understand the budget and understand seek out advice for realistic prices. And the other benchmark for a successful project is coming to conclusion of the project that, have you been able to meet the budget? Have you been able to meet your timeline? And have you been able to meet the quality of your expectations?
Mm-hmm. Can I add one more consideration, is that find the right person to work with. For
Yes.
example, the right professional, the designer or the architect or the general contractor to work with, which will make your project more efficiently. Okay.
Yes, your design professional should have some experience in doing ADUs.
Yeah. Okay. I have also some question online. One is raised by Jin Wu Ma. Ma asks, can a studio shed be considered as an ADU?
So if the studio shed was built with a permit and considered habitable at the time it was built, yes, it could be converted. But very often a shed is not built to a quality that could ever be made habitable, meaning that someone's sleeping in it overnight. Starting with the foundation is usually the issues that we see with sheds. It has to be a sufficient foundation that meets the California Residential Code. And then from there, the walls and the roof are pretty much easy.
Okay. Okay, so first check if it is permitted, and then convert it into a habitable space, going through all the processing process, right?
Correct. And just that I have sometimes found that they're not adequately built to begin with, and so they have to be torn down to be rebuilt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Maria Sendova asks, who does an ADU need to connect it, land or connected walls?
I'm thinking that what they're asking is, does it have to be on the same property? And the answer is yes, it has to be on the same property as a primary residence. So that's the land portion. But an ADU can be attached or it can be detached. So attached would mean connected to the primary residence with a wall, or converting primary residences spaces like a living room or a master bedroom can be converted into an ADU or junior ADU. Or detached, which means it's a separate building in the backyard, separate from the main house, and that is also okay for an ADU.
Okay, so yes. Okay, so Maria, we will talk about the differences on attached, detached, or garage converted. Those are the three types of ADU in the afternoon session. So stay with us in the afternoon, okay? And one more question is from Steve Sun. Will covenant prohibits an ADU?
Okay, this is a tricky question because there are some planned developments that under their code covenants and restrictions specifically say that a second dwelling unit is not allowed on the property. Most municipalities who see these CC&Rs with that covenant on there are not allowing ADUs. Now, the state says that any residential property is allowed to have an ADU. So if you find yourself in that situation, like Senator Wachowski mentioned, contact HCD, Housing Community Development from the state, and ask them what is the final say and if they can help you in making your municipality make that change through the CC&Rs. But right now, the answer, if they said no to you, the answer is also no.
Okay, okay, thank you. And Gary asks, what is the best way to find out if the outside sewer lateral is 4 inch?
So the easiest way is to have a sewer expert come in with a snake camera and put that into your clean out and go out towards the main line. They can usually use with the camera, figure out what the diameter of that sewer line is. So you do need a sewer specialist to come out and use a camera to determine that size.
Okay, thank you. JR asks, can you, the U means the homeowner, have an ADU and JADU?
The state does allow for ADU and JADU on every residential property. However, JADUs can be handled differently from one municipality to another. The minimum, as state says, is that it needs to be converted from existing floor area. But some municipalities are going easier on that and allowing it to be new construction. So check with your municipality as to whether the JADU must be done from existing floor area or can be new floor area.
Okay, maybe the best way for the homeowner to check your local municipal city's allowance on the ADU or JADU is go to the website to check, or if or maybe you can shoot an email to the planning department to ask for what's their exact regulations on those kind of your ideas to make it sure.
That is correct. And most cities have their municipal building code or their municipal code online as well. So you can even find the details within the municipal code online.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And also, Louis asks, in the subject of ADU design of designers or architects, would you recommend any book or resource to further expand knowledge? Do you have?
You know, I love this question because basically ADUs are a little house. And so all of the books that talk about smaller, compact houses are great books on ADUs. I have found myself looking at some very old books about designing bungalows in the early 20th century as really great ways of looking at how small homes were designed in the past.
Okay, yeah. So there are some other resources that we'll cover in today's schedule. For example, the last speaker, Cole Peterson from Portland, he is also the author of a revolutionary backyard, which may be one of the other resources that you can go to. So we will introduce Cole Peterson later. But anyway, Jennifer gave us very informative resources on how to start and how to plan your ADO project. We will, if you have any further question, please give me your contact information and ask me, that I will forward Jennifer's contact information to you if you need her help, professional help. Okay, thank you very much for Jennifer's information, and then we will stay tuned.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay.